Welcome back to the Forza Testing Ground, and today we are going to be looking at fuel. Fuel level is one of the last things we change before we start a race. So does fuel load break your lap time, increase tire wear, or even change the way you drive the car? So I'm going to test how much time you actually lose by carrying a full tank of fuel, and whether it slows you down on acceleration, and how far you can actually stretch the car by fuel saving itself. And I've got to be honest, towards the end I did find something quite odd really, especially the way how Forza calculates, or well, how the car burns fuel in itself. And it might change the way you think about the race or every race going forward. And hopefully you'll actually learn something from this video. But right now we are in a BMW M4 GT3 car, full tank of fuel, soft tires, and the AI is driving to try and keep things as consistent as possible. We're going to do 5 laps of Laguna Seca on a full tank and take our fastest lap time from there, which oddly enough doesn't happen until lap 4. Obviously the first lap we can't really assess a lap time from that point because we had a standing start. But lap 4 is where it's at, only by a little bit though, got to be honest. We have used a little bit of fuel. I think we've gone down to about 90% or 92% fuel overall. When we are talking about hundredths here, where we are gaining ever so slightly, or breaking down to first gear now and accelerating out the side, we are getting a fastest lap time of a 127.814. But looking at our fuel now, we have 89% fuel remaining, so we have used 10% to gain that time. But let's have a look at how fast this car can be when I only have 50% fuel in. I'll tell you what would be a great idea as well. Let's play a little game here. Write down in the comments below what is the lap time you think this car will set. It would be great to know what your predictions will be. Are we gaining seconds here? Are we gaining tenths? Or are we actually not gaining at all and it's not modeled in this game? It'd be really interesting to know what you all think. Coming up to the end of lap 3 for the start of lap 4, this is the lap we set our best lap time of a 127.220. So well done to the AI. Used 8% fuel to obtain that exact figure. So yeah, alright, it's not bang on 50%, but I obviously can't keep it at 50% throughout the duration of the lap. Fuel burn will occur. But we're going to jump over to running this car with 13% fuel. Now 13 is an odd number, I know, but the choice of 13 is because I can guarantee 5 full laps out of this car with 13% fuel, so to keep things as fair as possible. And to be quite surprised, we have an unusual result here. Now I have run this test more than once because this result really threw me off. We could only obtain a best lap time of a 127.835, which is slower than when we had 50% fuel in the car. Now, is that because the car has become so light that it's become a little bit uncontrollable and the AI is struggling to keep the car on course? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Taking a look at something more interesting here is the tire wear. Now, these images are all at the end of lap 3, so picture on the far left is the 100% fuel, middle 50% fuel, and on the right hand side when we ran 13% fuel. As you can see, on the 100% fuel, front tires are at 6% and 6.1%, and the rear tires at 6.6% respectively. Picture 2 is very, very similar, and picture 3, although a little bit further up the track, I really don't think that will constitute for 0.6% or even more on the rear tires. So it goes to show that running less fuel, you actually do save an ever so minute amount of tire wear. But looking at it over a course of a much longer race, you actually do save quite a bit. Heading on to, can you save fuel by following somebody else and shifting early? Just basically doing your best you can to fuel save on the car. So set AI off to go in front of me. I'm just going to follow him. Now I would like to point out I am on a controller and I absolutely suck on controller, I'm not going to lie. So this is not about my driving habits or standards, because they were very low in this race, but more about trying to shift early, try and catch up to the car in front, stay behind them, fuel save the best I can, and drive competitively-ish. I forgot to mention though, we are running 13% fuel because 13% fuel was the amount of fuel needed to run 5 full laps. And when I did the last test at 13% fuel, I did pretty much run out after the final, the first corner, the second corner of this track. How far will I get on 30% fuel? Let me know down in the comments below what your guesstimate lap will be when I run out of fuel. And just again, in the AI, with the AI driving, sorry, they only lasted 5 laps and turned 2. So now I've given you enough time to write out your answers. We are on lap 6, 0 laps remaining of fuel, and I am shifting a little bit earlier than I usually do. As you can see, there is no need to maximize the revs trying to keep up with that car in front. They're just going so very slow. You see, I've changed it about 5,000 RPM. It's just like, is there any need? Not really. And again, this is where I clicked on the end of lap 5, where I clicked on 0 laps, and I thought, okay, let's go crazy on this fuel saving strategy. And was that a cough? She's spluttering. That's it. End of lap 6, and the car's spluttering. Still drivable though, still driving, but we are spluttering, and I think we may end up getting to the end of lap 6 to start of lap 7, where the car will just conk out. But yeah, you can fuel save, and it does a benefit, especially when Forza gives you the amount of laps remaining whilst you're in the pits refueling incorrectly. So I've been there before. Fuel saving does make a difference. But now the other question we got to ask is, how long does it take to get to 100 miles per hour with a full tank of fuel? So let's get on to the starting line, rev the life out the engine, and go. Now the AI again is on steering assist and automatic gearbox. I'm just holding the throttle down and make sure we get there, and it took a total of 5.405 seconds. So let's have a look at what it's going to take at 50% fuel. Let's get started here, and we are away, getting the exact same line as we did before, and stopping at 5.320 seconds overall, which is actually quite a bit of time saved there. And with that knowledge though, let me know down in the comments below what you think 10% fuel time is going to be. I'm going to give you a moment to write down in the comments below what the number is, and we are going to head over to the race now, where we are starting with 10% fuel. And what's the time we are going to set? And let me know if you're right. A 5.264 overall. So from the first 100% to 50%, we actually gained a 0.85 of a second. And from 50% down to 10%, we gained a 0.56 of a second, which is quite a substantial amount, because if you think about it, that is a tenth and a half from 0 to 60 miles per hour from running a full tank to a pretty much empty tank. And from the distance from 0 to 100 miles per hour, that is a huge amount of time gained. Not only that though, but when looking at the full lap itself and finishing the race, they all finished at different times as well. And let me know which one you think was the fastest overall, because as we all know, weight does affect how long it takes us to get to our top speed, and if we can actually achieve that top speed as well. Really another interesting result, because 100% fuel is a 54.319, 50% fuel is a 54.138, so we have time saved. But again, a 53.999 with 10% fuel in the tank. Now, as promised from the beginning of the video, I did mention I have found something very unique within Forza and how they calculate fuel. Now, this is where I found it. Now, right now, we are doing a trial run of 100 miles per hour, running around about 36.5% throttle to keep it at 100 miles per hour in second gear at 7,500 RPM. Wanting to know, does higher RPM equal more fuel usage? Because you would expect that in a normal car, that if you don't change gear, even though you're still doing 30, 40, 50 miles per hour, you will be burning more fuel than you would be in a lower gear. But looking at where we are now, we are again running 10% fuel, 100 miles per hour, and the only varying factor is me on the throttle. Now, on the controller or even on a pedal set, holding 36.5% throttle to keep it at 100 miles per hour is very difficult. But right now we have 9.2% fuel remaining and 36.5% throttle, using roughly 95 horsepower. That's not a lot to keep this car at 100 miles per hour, you think about it, at 7,500 RPM. Coming to the start of lap 5, again, we're still at 100 miles per hour, second gear, 36.5% throttle, using roughly about 95 horsepower. And we still have, well, 5 laps of fuel remaining at the moment. So we've actually gained fuel overall lappage-wise, so we definitely could go further than we could before on full throttle. So we have saved fuel, yes. But how much fuel have we used as we're coming up towards the end of lap 5? That is the big question. How much fuel do you reckon we've used? Because right now we have 6.5% fuel remaining, again using 95 horsepower, 7,000, almost 7,500 to 7,600 RPM, and 36.5% throttle. I've had a really steady hand here. It's really hard because you end up getting like an itchy nose at the most inconvenient time. But we still have 6.3% fuel remaining. Again, the AI is driving the car. I'm only doing the throttle and the gears. So all steering inputs and everything like that is not controlled by me, it's controlled by AI to make sure that they stay on the exact same line as they do in all the other test scenarios. But crossing the line, we have 6.1% fuel remaining. Now let's do that again at 100 miles per hour in 6th gear. And what do you reckon, guys? Let me know down in the comments below. Do you reckon I'll use more or less fuel? Now, just to show that the test is fair, I am on full throttle before leaving the start line, up to 100 miles per hour. And then when I get to 100 miles per hour, I'm going to knock it straight to 6th gear and then apply the throttle and try and keep it at 100 miles per hour. Now, this was much harder than the first time around because I was roughly at about 36.5%. This time around, though, I need to keep the throttle roughly about 40%. And I know it's only 4% difference, but that 4% difference on the controller was really difficult to maintain. So I do vary, like I did in the previous race, every now and again, up and down on the top speed of the car, which is, you know, usually bounce around between 99 and 101, give or take, once I settle down and get into a locked finger position at 40%. That's how I can keep this car consistently at 100 miles per hour. But we are also using roughly about the same horsepower holding this car at 100 miles per hour. Let's settle down 40%. And we're using, it's really hard. Right, 85% horsepower, 40. Come on, where's that magical 40? This is what I mean. It's, you know, you on about less than millimeters difference on the controller. Hold it at 40% throttle. It did become quite a challenge, I must say. There we are, 93 horsepower, 92 horsepower to keep this car at 100 miles per hour. But again, let me know down in the comments below, how much fuel do you reckon I'm going to use by the end of lap 5? I mean, we're looking at the start of lap 5 now, and we are keeping 100 miles per hour, 40% throttle, 92 horsepower is being used to propel this car and keep it at 100 miles per hour. So we actually saved in the horsepower aspect of it ever so slightly. But do you really think, because right now we're setting at 4,000 RPM, have we saved on the old fuel consumption? Because that is the most interesting part of our testing today. 41.6% throttle. Let's get back down to 40. There we go. Thank you to the AI for steering this car as slow as they did. I mean, 100 miles per hour is quite a sweet spot. 4,000 RPM, 93 horsepower being used. 6.2 PSI and boost. That's quite a lot, 6.2 PSI and boost. And we're just, you know, waddling down the road, let's say. God blimey. It's all fun and games, isn't it? Right, we're coming up to the end of lap 5. Still using 92 horsepower. How much fuel have we used overall? Let's have a look. 6.1% remaining. Oh, it was 6.2. We've dropped down to 6.1. What do you think about that? So in the end, throttle position and RPM don't really matter nearly as much as we thought. If you want to save fuel, it's not about driving gently, but more about using less horsepower. So keep that in mind next time you're trying to stretch a stint out due to misfueling a car. Thank you for watching the Forza Testing Ground, and if this helped you out, drop a like and subscribe, and let me know what test I should do next. Goodbye.